Hey guys, welcome to LA Reg. I'm your host, Reggie Benjamin. We're here at Emmys in Chicago. We're actually filming this in freaking cold Chicago, but it's beautiful here, my hometown. Today in the studio we have Ari Lehman. He's played Jason on Friday the 13th. And we also have legendary guitarist and vocalist Mike Tafoya. All this and more, including my parent saying of the week, coming up next. Hey guys, welcome back to LA Reg. As we usually do, this part of the show is called Fill in the Blanks. We send out a massive tweet, emails, and we ask for your answers. Here's what we asked. Guys are jerks because... Jane Garcia writes, because they're all useless, nasty, fat bitches. Ooh. Wow, she's kind of evil. Damn. Jane, for real? All right. Here we go. This is John Sadako says... John Sadako. Okay. Guys are jerks because, and John says they are cheaters, big fat cheaters. Obviously, John, you got cheated on, but that's all right. Sarah Silverman says, because they're all gay. Like John Travolta, Tom Cruise. They only pretend because they like the yardstick in their ass. Jerks. Boy, if they have a yardstick, shit. All right. Karen Khan. Carrie Khan says, they aren't, they are... They aren't. Oh, they aren't. Oh, see, I like this one. This is good. They aren't. They are just naive sometimes, but they're nice guys. We'll keep this one up here. Okay, Tawanda says, ooh, Tawanda got ghetto on us. They're nappy-appy, saggy, 24-hour condom-wearing bitches. Well, I'm going to keep this up here because that one's good. Brett says, because women are stingy. I like that answer. All right, we'll be right back. Thank you.
Hollywood is exciting, hot.
I got a call from my agent saying that Barry Shear was directing a TV movie, which turned out to be a pilot for Starsky and Hutch.
We're shooting in 35 millimeter, I went, you know, where do I have to be, where do I have to go? And it turned out to be Don Coscarelli's first movie, which was called Jim, the World's Greatest.
I'd love to be just a working actress. That's my goal.
You're not going to believe this, man. I got an audition for Seinfeld tomorrow morning.
I'm chasing Hollywood.
I am chasing Hollywood.
I am James Vell, and I am chasing Hollywood.
Believe in yourself, and then the sky's the limit.
That's it. You know, decide you're gonna do it, and 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 do it.
She's Jason's bride. Jason's bride. Jason's bride. Jason's bride.
Hey guys, welcome back to LA Reg. We just saw a clip from the group First Jason. And the song is Jason's Bride.
Jason's Bride. Yes,
Jason's
indeed.
Bride. And here we have with us, you were the first
Yes.
Jason, Ari
Yes,
Lehman.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming, my man.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Reggie, it is a great honor to be on your show. It really is a great honor. I was the first Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, tell us about this.
The one who is at the end of the first movie.
Okay.
If you'll remember, in which the mother of Jason plays a major role. It takes place at a summer camp. Maybe some of your viewers will recall. And at the very end, the sole survivor is in a little boat.
In a boat, yes.
On a pond. And you think the movie's over because the sun is sparkling off the lake and this beautiful music by Harry Manfredini is playing with this violins and the policeman comes and you think it's over and she just looks off and this little slimy child comes.
Oh, I remember that slimy child. Who was that slimy child?
And
that was That was
yes,
you.
Yes, indeed. The slimy child was me.
That's great. Okay, let's back up a little
Jason.
bit. How did you even get that
Well,
gig? I mean, what happened?
A lot of kids want to be in movies,
Yeah,
and
sure.
I was similar to those kids. I really wanted to be in movies. And I had been in a film that was
Prior to
directed by the same director, Sean S. Cunningham,
Okay.
who also directed Last House on the Left.
Okay.
So that movie was about kids who play soccer and being filmed in 1978. It was kind of a comedy similar to Bad News Bears.
Okay, gotcha.
And it was a happy story, a heartwarming tale of inner city kids who played soccer, and it was not going to go anywhere because in those days, in America, our soccer, which is called football in other parts of the world,
exactly,
is still having challenges catching on. So Sean S. Cunningham, having seen the success of the film Halloween, thought of Friday the 13th. Why not make a movie, Friday the 13th? And the writer, Victor Miller, said it at a summer camp.
Okay.
And he proceeded to say, okay, we need a little boy who's going to be in the lake at a certain point of time.
And he recognized your talent from the...
Well, I wish that was the case. I wish that was the
sure
case.
it was.
I wish it was. At first, they wanted to have Sean's son, Noah, a very worthy candidate, be little Jason, but the mom said no. So
mom didn't allow it. Okay.
They called me up. They said, "Can you swim?" And I said, "Yeah, I can swim." I said, "Okay, we got a role for you. Just come down to the office."
And that's how you got that.
Because I can swim.
Because you can swim.
Swimming is a very important part. I mean, if you remember the final scene,
yes,
one wonders why the young lady, she gets into a boat without a life preserver.
Without a life preserver.
At all. And she just decapitated my mother.
Yeah.
And then she just goes for a boat ride.
She goes for a boat
You know,
ride.
I mean, what?
Strange, right?
I never understood that, but still, maybe there's a water safety.
Maybe. So that's great. So, okay, so then after that, is that when you went into the whole music thing?
Well,
or were you doing it during...
I was 14 when I was little Jason. The film came out in 1980.
80, yes.
So I had already even begun an investigation of jazz piano, which is what I wanted to study at the time, and went to New York City. I got a scholarship to go to Berkeley in Boston.
Really?
And I entertained that for a while, but then I ended up in New York, where kind of crazy kid, you know, I wanted to get right into the business, right into just seeing people play jazz. And I went to New York University, and I would walk down the street and go to Bradley's or go to the Village Gate, or right there, and just watch the greatest piano players like McCoy Tyner. Hank Jones.
Yeah.
Just sit there. I used to sit there. I was famous for just nursing one beer, and I would sit and just watch them play. You
were 14 at this time?
Well, no. By this time I was in college.
So how'd you get a beer? But okay.
No. By this time, later now.
Later. Okay.
This is when. So I was at NYU. Made that decision to become a musician as opposed to an actor.
Sure.
I was more drawn to that. I think because acting, especially on a movie set, is a lengthy process.
I agree 100%.
And playing music for people, it's very visceral and fun.
And it seems like it's your love because you're real passionate about it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
No.
Yes. Well, you're a musician too.
Yeah, not as good as you.
Oh, come on.
But okay, so we talked a little bit when you first walked in, and you asked me what nationality I was, and I'm Indian, and I'm Telugu.
Yes.
Most people think it's Hindi or Urdu. Telugu's a little less rare than all the other languages.
I wanted to know how to say the famous phrase that I know how to say in every language, which is Jason never dies, which I can say in French, Jason ne meurt jamais, or in German it's Jason stirbt niemals, or
how many different languages do you know that?
Oh, so many.
We'll teach
Italian,
you Indian.
Jason non muore mai. But what about in Telugu?
In Telugu, I have no clue. But we'll find out before the end of the show.
But the thing is, but what it kicked off is a memory of that wonderful movie that I happen to know about music, which is a Telugu movie.
So you actually saw a Telugu movie, which
Shankara Bharanam.
Say one more time to the camera.
Shankara Bharanam.
And he says it perfect.
Well, I saw it at the recommendation of a friend who spoke Telugu because I was interested in, music and at that time I was really into world music.
Yeah, absolutely.
After I came out of college, this is a good segue because I started really getting into world music, and then I was even in a band from Nigeria that traveled all over the world.
Your band did from Nigeria?
Not my band. I was a keyboardist in the band of a singer from Nigeria.
Oh, wow.
It was Majet Fashek and the Prisoners of Conscience. And we were actually on Interscope Records and traveled all over. I got to open for Steel Pulse and Rita Marley and as a keyboardist in an African band. So I was always interested in studying world music. And that's how I came upon this wonderful film, which is just an unforgettable movie for the music.
It is.
And just the drama itself. And I don't think that I even had subtitles. I think I picked it up here in Chicago.
You don't really need them.
No.
You really don't.
I honestly don't think I had subtitles.
Especially if you're a musician. You really don't.
Man,
there was this older gentleman teaching a lady like scales and how to sing. And
it's a little girl.
Yeah, a little girl.
Guru of music, and it's just you can't even. People should, those who know, understand the feeling. When you see a film like that, it's a real cinematic triumph. I mean, the thing that always stays with me is the scene where they're on the boat at the very beginning.
Yeah, at the beginning, yeah.
And
what a great scene.
With the motor or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. We'll try to put a picture of that.
Oh my!
Yeah, that's great.
I just get goosebumps. Yeah. Talk about that.
I see him right now.
Yes, it's true.
Okay, by the way,
gotten through to little Jason. And
where'd you get that?
See, this is how I pretend to be very warlike, but here's my heart.
Before we get into this, we're going to take a break real quick, and when we come back, we're going to talk about these.
Yes, okay. They're gauntlets.
And we're going to be talking about what you have going on now.
Excellent.
And gauntlets. We'll be right back.
Metal.
Right before his eyes, she cut him down to size. Before she could even start, she took away his heart. She's Jason's bride. She's Jason's bride.
Hollywood is exciting, hot.
I got a call from my agent saying that Barry Shear was directing a TV movie, which turned out to be a pilot for Starsky and Hutch.
We're shooting in 35 millimeter. I went, where do I have to be? Where do I have to go? And it turned out to be Don Coscarelli's first movie, which was called Jim, the World's Greatest.
I'd love to be just a working actress. That's my goal.
You're not going to believe this, man. I got an audition for Seinfeld tomorrow morning.
I'm chasing Hollywood.
I am chasing Hollywood.
I am James Vell, and I am chasing Hollywood.
Believe in yourself, and then the sky's the limit.
That's it. Decide you're going to do it, and do it, and do it, and do it, and do it.
She took away his heart. She took away his heart.
All right, you guys, welcome back to LA Rich. We're here with Ari Lehman, and now we're going to discuss what are you doing now? What's happening? Tell us.
Well, much to the benefit of my musical career has been having been, you know, Jason Voorhees. And so we created a music project called First Jason.
And is this is the video?
First Jason. This is, yes, this is the Jason's Bride video, which we created together with IROMP Films, which is here in Chicago. And First Jason is kind of a punk metal horror comedy band.
Stuff I'd listen to.
No, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I don't, you know, I think, you know, it's been said that people who aren't metalheads still can dig First Jason, because, you know, we're kind of lucky. The punk bands accept us and they say, well, you guys are kind of metal. And then the metal bands accept us and say we're kind of punk. And then everybody else just says we're crazy or, yeah. And I play a guitar that's on a giant machete.
That is great.
An LED Jason mask in the blade. And it's the world's only heavy metal electric machete, yes, if you will. It's a guitar that sounds like a bass and guitar, using the distorted sounds and a wah-wah pedal. And I play bass and guitar and solo all at the same time and sing.
Really?
So it's a lot of fun. And I have a drummer, Ryan Adamitis, who plays drums, heavy metal, double bass drum style. And that's all we need. So we travel as a duo. And
so just two of you.
Recently, we played at the Whiskey A Go Go in LA.
In LA on Sunset.
And we, in the same month, played at Lucky 13.
Where's that?
In New York City, which was right after that flood. And we came in right after the flood to play there, which was a lot of fun. The people went crazy. And we drove from Chicago to all of these places.
And how do you get there? You have
we drive in a van.
In a van.
And I think that, as a lot of listeners or viewers must know, that nowadays, you know, the modus operandi of bands is you've got to get out there. You've got to be performing pretty much continuously and merchandising and just reaching people. And I would say...
Which you've been doing.
Yeah, well, we are riding a wave, if you will, of this horror, metal, tattoos, haunted houses, horror conventions, people who own hearses. And, you know, here in the Midwest, you know, I know people who own a tattoo parlor, run a haunted house. Their daughter's name is Elvira. Their son is named Boris, you know. And you know, it's a new subculture, if you will, and everywhere First Jason goes, it's a horror rock night, and it's Halloween every night.
It's Halloween every night.
Yeah, and there's so many bands out there that use horror as a certain themology, or it's connected with their band. So we go out there and work with them. Usually it's smaller venues all over the country.
But you're all over the place.
Well, we are. We've played in also in Europe. We've played in Italy, Spain, France, Holland, UK. We're going to Germany.
When's Germany?
That's going to be March 23rd.
We have some viewers in Germany, so do you know the name, where?
That's going to be at Dark Zone in Dortmund, Germany, which, as a matter of fact, I'll be joined by Sir Richard Brooker, who played Friday the 13th, Jason in Friday the 13th Part 3.
Nice.
And Ken Kersinger, who was in Freddy vs. Jason, and Robert Englund, who played Freddy himself, will be there in Dortmund.
Reunion.
Yes, Dark Zone is a horror convention in Dortmund, March 23rd. We're going to be performing, and oh yeah, just remember, Jason stirbt niemals.
And that is.
Jason never dies.
That's great.
Every language, any language.
And when are you playing in LA again?
That's going to be April 4th.
Okay, April 4th at the Whiskey A Go Go.
And that's a very good segue question, because it's as part of an American horror convention that's called Days of the Dead, Reggie.
Days of the Dead.
Which, you know, we would invite you to come to any Days of the Dead event, because we've got them in Atlanta coming up, and we've got one coming up, as you say, in LA. That's going to be April 4th. I do the musical part. We're going to be doing it April 4th at the Whiskey A Go Go.
Awesome.
But now, coming up January 31st in Atlanta.
Is that the next big thing you got going on?
That's the next
January
Days
31st.
of the Dead. Yeah.
Okay.
We've got, we're going to be at the Earl with Eerie Von and Michael Graves, who are famous in the horror punk scene, one of whom played bass for Danzig, and the other one who is now singing and sang with the Misfits and the Ramones. So yeah, that's, you know, what we try to do is bring in big, famous singers for our events, so maybe you could come to our LA show.
I'll do some Indian background classical
Oh,
vocals
come
behind
on!
some metal stuff. How about that?
Well, I think that would be, you know what, there are a lot of, right now, crossover of metal and world music.
Yeah, we should do it.
Where you were mentioning my gauntlets.
Yeah, the gauntlets.
Okay, these gauntlets were purchased in Wacken, Germany, at Wackenfest. At the Viking booth at Wackenfest, where I saw the great Sepultura, which is a band from Brazil.
A popular band.
Okay, this metal band from Brazil, and they came out with 20 sambayeros playing big samba drums, and they were able. It was boom, to boom, to boom, boom, to boom, just straight up samba, and dun, dun, dun,
that's
Sepultura.
Great sound.
Yeah,
great sound,
so
right? Maybe we'll do that.
If you're in LA, we'd love to see you.
I will be there.
At Days of the Dead.
April
Absolutely.
4th.
At the Whiskey A Go Go.
Whiskey A Go Go.
Please.
Yeah, I will do it for sure. And how do people follow you, see where you're at? Do you have a website?
Yeah, firstjason.com, or on Facebook, it's First Jason Official. And we're touring all over, and we'll come to wherever you are, because that's how it is, you know. Little Jason will show up in your town at a given date soon.
That's amazing. Ari, my man,
Reggie,
thank you. It's my pleasure.
Much appreciated, man.
And we'll be right back.
Jason never dies.
Never.
Jason's back. Jason's back.
Hollywood is exciting, hot.
I got a call from my agent saying that Barry Shear was directing a TV movie, which turned out to be a pilot for Starsky and Hutch.
We're shooting in 35 millimeter. I went, you know, where do I have to be? Where do I have to go? And it turned out to be Don Coscarelli's first movie, which was called Jim, the World's Greatest.
I'd love to be just a working actress. That's my goal.
You're not going to believe this, man. I got an audition for Seinfeld tomorrow morning.
I'm chasing Hollywood.
I am chasing Hollywood.
I am James Vell, and I am chasing Hollywood.
Believe in yourself, and then the sky's the limit.
That's it. Decide you're gonna do it, and 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 do it.
Welcome back to LA Reg. All right, this part of the show, as you know, is called My Parents' Saying of the Week. I'm going to set it up for you. This one's funny. This includes both my parents. My mom and dad usually starts off with take a seat. Okay, so here's what happened. Reggie, take a seat. We need to talk to you. All right, mom and dad, every time you tell me to take a seat, we got problems. Take a seat. I sit down. What do my parents say? They say, all my friends in India and United States, all over the world, they're doing this social network. We want to join too. Okay, mom and dad, what social? What are you talking about? You know that one site, it's blue, and you do all that typing, and you could talk to people. I said, okay, mom, what is it? She's like, oh, you know what? I'll show you. I wrote it down. Your aunt told me. It's called Bookface. I said, oh, Bookface? What the hell's Bookface? She said, no, it's Bookface. I said, mom, go to bookface.com. She typed in Facebook. But she said Bookface. So that's my parents' saying of the week. It's not Facebook anymore. It's called Bookface.
Hollywood is exciting, hot.
I got a call from my agent saying that Barry Shear was directing a TV movie, which turned out to be a pilot for Starsky and Hutch.
We're shooting in 35 millimeter. I went, you know, where do I have to be? Where do I have to go? And it turned out to be Don Coscarelli's first movie, which was called Jim, the World's Greatest.
I'd love to be just a working actress. That's my goal.
You're not going to believe this, man. I got an audition for Seinfeld tomorrow morning.
I'm chasing Hollywood.
I am chasing Hollywood.
I am James Vell, and I am chasing Hollywood.
You believe in yourself, and then the sky's the limit.
That's it. Decide you're going to do it, and 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 do it.
Welcome back to LA Reg. That was a clip from Tafoya's Lost Boys. Here with us we have legendary guitarist, singer, you name it, he does it, Mike Tafoya. Hi, I don't know if I want to do that after you just got done picking your nose.
I did with the same.
Oh, then let me shake that hand.
Good.
How you doing?
Now you have some of my DNA on there. Sure you want some more?
No, I don't want that.
It's all right, I'm clean.
Yeah, are you clean? Are you sure?
It's clean sweat.
Okay, as long as it's clean sweat.
Yeah, it's the...
Hi. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I won't be lost. I'll be found.
You're found. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get started?
Oh, I grew up in the west side of Chicago. I was like one of the last white kids to move out of Austin neighborhood. I mean, I was a patrol boy on Cicero and Jackson, a mile from the riots, you know, in the 60s. And
wow.
And my grandmother, she sang. She was one of these, you know, first generation Italians, and she was. She was horrible to her family because she moved out as she was still single, and anybody that knows Italian people.
The camera guy?
Women do not leave their house until they're married. And she moved out, worked, and then she was singing in nightclubs. So she's singing, you know, she's on WLS.
This is your grandma you're talking about?
Yeah, and then my grandfather played banjo uke.
No way.
I learned Ain't She Sweet and all that stuff when I was a little tiny.
Oh, really?
You know, when I didn't, way before I had hair. You know what I mean? And you know, and then my mother played piano, classically piano, and my father was a jazz producer, but he played double bass, and he was a vocalist. He learned how to sing.
He was a singer.
He not a singer. He was a vocalist.
He was a vocalist. Okay.
He could do the Mel Torme. He knew all the scales, knew all the ways.
Real.
Yes, it trained. Yeah. And he was a jazz producer in New York. So Dizzy Gillespie, Ornette Coleman, people like that would come to his house. Chet Baker, who's like one of the most legendary trumpeters, you know, I mean, like Miles Davis, he's a white cat, you know. I met him and, you know, all these people, and just, you know, I was going to New York and, you know, like early 70s and just hanging there, and they had the best weed, better than all the hippies. These are all guys in suits. I'm talking about 40 years ago, okay, guys?
A while back.
I'm looking at the microphone up there, the fuzzy thing. He looks like a body. It's like something from the Muppets.
Our camera guys are on weed right now, so don't worry about it.
That's right. Yo. Long stuff.
So you went to New York?
No, I just used to go there and visit, but I started reading music when I was 9 and stuff.
Wow.
And I'm just playing, but I grew up in the garage band days, you know, so I learned, and then Chuck Berry, I can do all that.
Chuck Berry, awesome.
But I mean, I'm talking about 40 years ago, more than 40 years ago I was doing that stuff, and, you know, I always wanted to play, and I was a fan of just watching entertainers play. That's why, you know, I'd watch guys, and then I'd see local bands, and somebody hit some really power chord, and they go like this. I'm like going, what the fuck is that?
After a great power chord, right?
No, it's demonstrative.
Yeah,
it's
I hear you.
You're acting. You know, you're you're emoting.
Yes.
You have to emote.
Feeling, absolutely.
And also in playing, you know, when I play lead, I don't just play I don't group a bunch of riffs together. You know, I make statements, you know, and I try, and then that emoting comes from here, and you know, these are tone generators, and I learned how to play. I learned how to hold it and just play and go for the real thing. And
who inspired you?
You know, as far as guitar, I love guitar, but you know, I love watching Chet Atkins and you know, and Les Paul and people like that, and you know, this TV show from the '60s, The King Family with Alvino Ray. But then I used to watch Dick Clark, and I saw this guy playing this. It was his name, Duane Eddy. I went, I want to play
Duane
electric.
Eddy?
I want to play electric. He'd do Rebel Rouser and, you know, Ghost Riders. But it was like, I met him when I worked for Gibson Guitar for a long time, and I met.
Well, yeah, okay.
I go, dude, you're the guy. I want to play lead. I want to play guitar. And then, you know, when the Beatles and Stones and stuff came out, I mean, even Beach Boys, when they were doing, you know, they just do that kind of Chuck Berry leads. But I mean, I was just listening to these guitarists playing lead in there. I'm like going,
you're like, oh, yeah, I hear you.
I remember, I was just that little kid. Even when I was little, I used to go, someday I'm going to be taller. And I always just make a mental picture where I'm at, you know, now, because later I won't be there, you know. And I remember 64 thinking, you know, listening to something and going, someday I'm going to play lead. And I know I don't know how. And I used to have to kind of hum it and do it, you know. Even though I knew how to read, I knew all the notes, knew the strings and the names of the things, and also how to articulate, you know.
Exactly.
Digital independence, not just moving. But I always wanted to play, and I wanted to make music that I want to hear.
Absolutely.
Not just I'm not here to follow the fodder and cattle of everybody else.
Who cares?
I mean, I'll go with it if it moves me.
Yeah, if it does something for you.
I have no problem, no reticence to joining the crowd, but I'm not in it to be the crowd. You know, I'm not just this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yet I can, you know,
you can hang
there, you know, and sway. But I was never a hippie in the hippie sense. You know, I liked when like the late '60s when the San Francisco scene and they got into their little, you know. Extrapolation in improv. You know, I'm going, well, that's like the Yardbirds did before that, and they called it the rave up. You know, you know, and when Clapton and Jeff Beck. But I mean, it was a jazz thing.
It was a jazz thing.
You know,
absolutely, it was.
Extrapolate and just go. And when you hear our stuff, you know, I mean, my drummer's been with me 10 and a half years now, and his
and
dad.
He's still with you.
Yeah, his dad was a drummer of the Rivieras. You heard the song "California Sun"? The down.
Yeah,
that was his dad.
Oh, that was his dad.
They're not a West Coast surf band. They were from Illinois, or they're from
the Midwest.
No, they're from LaPorte, Indiana, actually.
Okay,
going out west where I belong. The girls the days along, you know.
Really?
And then you know, one of my best friends is Jimmy Sands, the guy who made the hit Gloria. It's a Van Morrison song, but when Van Morrison and the Move recorded it and released it in '65, it was banned because of the middle part going up to my house, make me feel all right.
So they banned it.
And then in '66, the Shadows released it and became a #1 hit. And then a band called the Buckinghams out of Chicago.
The Buckinghams?
Well, the original drummer was my manager, you know, and I got to know these cats, you know, from the Chicago bands, you know, the Crying Shames and the Ides of March and these things, and I grew up watching them.
See, that's great. And you said something. You said you learned to read. You were reading since you were 9. How did you learn how to read music?
I went to this place called the Austin Conservatory of Music, and it's just a building with a lot of instruments happening, band instruments, orchestra, and orchestral things. And my guitar teacher was a violin teacher. Now my grandfather, the bigoted Irish son of SOB, he's gone, you know. But I mean, you know, you're playing rock and roll. I go, okay.
No rock and roll.
You know, well, it's just, it wasn't devil's music. It just wasn't music. You know? And,
sure.
And but I learned, and I learned to read. I don't sight read now. You know, I mean, sight reading. The best way for me to describe sight reading is like for somebody, like an actor can look at a page, just a page, and read it out loud and make it
their own.
Make it sound like you're telling a story instead of like, well, Jane crossed the road and see Dick. Look at Jane. Spots on Sally. Anyway, you know, and that's where sight reading, when you can just look at it and go, and get that nuance, and there's all these little things happening.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
It's a feeling, it's telling a story, like you said. There's a lot to it. When we come back, we'll be finding out what else Mike's doing. We'll be right back.
Hollywood is exciting, hot.
I got a call from my agent saying that Barry Shear was directing a TV movie, which turned out to be a pilot for Starsky and Hutch.
We're shooting in 35 millimeter. I went, you know, where do I have to be? Where do I have to go? And it turned out to be Don Coscarelli's first movie, which was called Jim, the World's Greatest.
I'd love to be just a working actress. That's my goal.
You're not going to believe this, man. I got an audition for Seinfeld tomorrow morning.
I'm chasing Hollywood.
I am chasing Hollywood.
I am James Vell, and I am chasing Hollywood.
Believe in yourself, and then the sky's the limit.
That's it. Decide you're going to do it, and 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 do it.
Hey, welcome back to LA Reg. We're here with Mike Tafoya. Mike, couple questions. I want to hear about Epic.
Okay.
I want to hear about Judas Priest. Let's start with Epic. So tell them about Epic Records.
Well, the Boys were my band, The Boys, B-O-I-Z-Z, and they, later that's Lost Boys now.
That's Lost Boys.
But I mean, and then we started in '75, and we were playing all over, and we'd go every 3 months. We'd go for a month out of state.
Sure.
I mean, to Montana.
All over.
Medicine Hat, Alberta. I mean, we were in Aspen when Spider Savage was killed. He was Andy Williams' ex-wife, Claudia Longet. In '76, when the Roach Cup became a World Cup. I mean, we were there for all that. We played all over Louisiana, Monroe, Louisiana, you know, to Kansas. I mean, but they loved us. I mean, but we were so wild. I mean, we were like Jay Giles and the Rolling Stones, but on steroids. Of course, in the '70s, we didn't use the term steroids as much as I used to go. We were nitro fuel, funny car, muscle car,
nitro fuel.
But we were like, you know, the nitrous, you know, and but we rocked, and yet most of the Chicago bands were. The insiders wanted to be this, you know, this sissy pop thing, or you know, this real pop thing, or the David Bowie kind of, you know, and androgynous looking, and you know, oh, dude, and then put lipstick, you know, and it goes on. It's all right. It's okay.
It's their choice.
I was in New York when the New York Dolls first came out, and nobody'd ever heard of that. There was hot pants were, you know, worn by hookers, and I thought I didn't know, you know, I was 16, and you know, you want to date? My dad was a jazz producer in Manhattan, so I mean. That's great. And I go, and Dad go, nope,
he's
can't
16,
do that. You know. And then I saw New York Dolls, and I go, they're on, you know, the platform shoes and stuff and all that, and the makeup, you know, Personality Crisis, David Johansen and stuff. Yeah. And Todd Rundgren produced, and I already knew who he was because I knew him from the band Runt. This is before he did his first big hit, you know, I Saw the Light in '72. This is '70, '71, and. Wow. And then it came here, and in those days, you didn't have MTV, you didn't have...
Yeah, you didn't have these...
So in the Midwest, right coast to left coast, whatever fads, it took 5 years to get here. It always did. Yeah, so by the mid-'70s, in Chicago bands, they all wanted to be Jeannie, you know, and all that. That's all cool, but, you know, it's like, the way you're looking is kind of, you're an anachronism.
Yeah.
No, we're up, we're ahead. And I go... And when we started The Boys... we talked about it, should we do that and this, and I wanted to do a little more proggy rock, but not prog rock in the same sense as, you know, because I was into, I used to call it classical rock. Classical
rock, okay.
Where like Deep Purple would do, you know, with all this orchestration and these parts, and, you know, it was really classically derivative stuff, you know, and it wasn't just prog rock, you know.
Exactly.
Where like David Gilmour, he used to joke about, you know, he goes, yeah, some of our stuff was overly considered. That's an English word. You know, it's overly. He was being nice.
Yeah,
he
sounds
goes,
like an
we're
English
sitting there
word, exactly.
pontificating how cool we can look. well, this riff. It's like a guy at a rock and roll band. It's my package right, my hair right.
Well, that's true, yeah.
I'm like going, what does that have to do with rock and roll?
It has nothing.
Has it, you know? And
so
when the boys started off, we're doing Jay Giles, Rolling Stones. What we were doing, we even did Kiss, and nobody ever did it. You know, I mean,
sure.
I bought the first Kiss album before they had this song called Kissing Time, and it was. Yeah. It was, they did a Kiss-a-thon in all the malls, and this is like in the '74. They had all these, you know, soap opera people.
We're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, and anyway, but the boys started in '75, and we came out and we just played, and we just did our own thing, and you know, and we were like the outsiders because I refuse to kiss balls with a bunch of people just to be cool.
There's no point.
Well, it's counterproductive.
You don't end up happy. You don't end up getting what you want. I mean, you're miserable.
Well, if you're doing that, you don't know what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
You're following the cattle. You're not. And it takes time to grow and develop and to find that it's a weird way of doing it, but moving forward yet. Being able to amend without having to go off course.
Exactly.
You look here and you look at the end, and then you're moving that way. Sometimes it goes here, but then you just you can just veer. You just don't
veer off exactly.
You don't go perpendicular angles to get somewhere.
So the boys got signed with Epic.
Epic Records in '78.
In '78, okay, which was a huge label then.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's Columbia, Sony.
Yeah.
And we went to Miami, recorded it in Miami, where they did Layla and you know. Joe Walsh, you know, Rocky Mountain Way thing, and Smoky Drink the Player You Get, and
that's great.
And then they put horn players on it, which was a last minute thing, and they were from Blood, Sweat, and Tears. They ended up being in the Blues Brothers.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, you know, and stuff. And when we released that, it was just a year before. By '79, it came out '78. '78 that year, they had Van Halen, Cars, Devo, Dire Straits, Police, Cars, all brand new albums, and the boys. By '79, though, all of a sudden the radio could play rock and roll like you had.
It started to change a little bit.
Well, you had Scorpions and you had, you know, Ozzy doing Crazy Train, but it was rock and roll. It was like, oh wow, rock. That sounds on mainstream radio.
Rock.
And
so let's jump to Judas Priest real quick. Let's touch on that. So what did you have to do with Judas Priest?
Well, in '78, right before our album came out, we were playing it. We were hired to open up for some band at NIU, and they're called Judas Priest. And all these friends of these guys that were big boys fans from like right next to DeKalb, Sycamore, were going, oh, they're like this. I'm like going, oh, some more of this insipid metal, you know. And we watched them, and they were really cool though. But they were like. We called them chick leg bands. They were in spandex with the pointy shoes of the heels. You know, doing them. And Rob Halford had, you know, bangs and long hair, but I mean, he had that voice. And the guitar players, you know, they just had that great sound.
Yeah. They did, no doubt.
But they were in you know, they did Green Manalishi, which is a Fleetwood Mac song.
Yeah,
Peter Green, they wrote
absolutely.
that. And they wrote Black Magic Woman, and you know, but I mean, and so when they came out on their first Hellbent for Leather, I think it was, or they, you know, they were on Leather, you know, and they made sure when they came to Chicago get the boys to play because they were telling us. And that's when I first heard Rob go, "Hey, Ducky."
Okay. Now, the question that my viewers are going to ask, that I have to ask you because I know my viewers, who does your hair?
Me.
You do your hair?
Well, I get my hair cut
where do you get it cut?
At Rock Styles by Elise up here in Palatine or Wheeling.
In Wheeling, okay.
Yeah, it's called Rock Styles, but I mean, I just have her cut. I was.
It looks good.
Yeah, I wash it and go like this. Just let it out and.
Okay, how do people get a hold of you, follow you? Like, where can they? You have a website or?
Yeah, Tafoyas, Tafoyas. Tafoya is Ayo Fat backwards, but Tafoya's Lost Boys, 2Zs.com. And you can look me up on Facebook, Michael A. Tafoya.
Michael A. Tafoya on Facebook.
I'll let you anybody, unless you're, you know, some idiot, you know, posting and doing stupid stuff, or some chick. Hi, my name is Chante, and there's one picture of her, you know. But if you want to see more pictures of me, you have to go. I'm like, you're not. This is for networking and making friends, you know. But
exactly.
We post videos. I have songs on that stuff,
that's great.
You can get our live.
Now, what about where are you playing this? Is that all available on the website and on Facebook?
Well, it is when it comes up. We just signed or we hooked up with a couple of national agencies now, and they're like going, Michael, you're like the real deal. You know, I can't believe nobody's doing anything.
My man, you are the real deal. It's our pleasure to have you on the show. Yeah, that is it.
Oh, okay.
We appreciate it. We'll be right back.
Oh, hit it now!
Everyone, thanks for watching LA Reg. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Check us out on the web, www.la-reg. Follow us on Twitter @ReggieBenjamin. And we'll see you all next week. And before you leave, don't do anything. I won't do it. See you later.
Was it selfish of me asking you to choose?